Hey guys, I hope you're doing good. In this video, we are going to see the execution of the program Mobike that we just discussed in the previous video, the problem statement and the explanation of the code and the approach how we are doing that. So you can see that we are using buffer reader to take the console input. The class name was Mobike and the instance variables were bike number, phone number, days and charge and name. Name is a string parameter. So the task of the void input method was to take the input for the bike number, phone number, name and days. So I have used a buffer reader object here. Buffer reader r equals to new buffer reader equals to new input stream reader system.in. With this code, we are creating a new instance of a buffer reader that in turn takes input of a input stream reader object. An input stream reader object takes an system.in object as its parameter. So ultimately, we are getting a buffer reader object in this line, number 12. After that, I am printing a prompt to the user in the terminal window. It would appear to ask the user to enter the bike number, phone number, name, and days. And after that, the user would enter that. So we would read that sequentially from the command window. So india.parseInt, as I said in the previous videos, if you haven't watched that, please watch those videos to get a clear understanding of wrapper class. So wrapper class is integer. Integer helps us to manipulate and work with int data type, primitive data type values. So it has certain methods like parseInt, toString, and other methods are also there, which helps us to manipulate and work with int data type values. It helps us to convert that into string or string to integer, and many other functions are also there, so we can use that. Here we are using parse int method that converts a string into an integer. So what is the string here? The string is r.readline. This method, readline method of the buffer reader class, you can see that we have referenced the object reference is r. R is the buffer reader reference. So we are calling, invoking the readline method of the buffer reader class with the help of dot parameter dot. So this readline function reads the entire line from the command window and gives us as a string. That string we are converting and parsing it into integer, and that is being stored in byte number with the help of equals to, that is an assignment operator. So this line is responsible for taking an input from the user from the command window, and it we are reading the bike number here. Similarly, we are reading the phone number, then we are reading the name of the customer or the user, and then we are reading the number of days also. After we have taken the input, the void input method is responsible for taking the inputs and storing that in respective instance variables, right? So we are done with that. Next, our task was to work with the compute method. Now here lies the main slab calculation what we are going to discuss and the main subject of our video. So compute method, see the days, if it is between 0 to 5, greater than 0, and then days smaller than equals to 5, means if it lies in this range, our calculation would be 500 per day, right? According to the question, the question says that if it lies in the first 5 days, so the rate will be 500 rupees per day. So the charge is being calculated as 500 into the days. Whatever will be the days, we would multiply that simply with 500 and get the charge, right? And by default I have stored 0 because suppose someone gives minus something, there might be some users who are trying to confuse us. So in that cases it would be 0, charge would be 0 because days cannot be negative. We can add some logic also there, but it's not required here according to the equation, so I have not added those print ln statements that you have input are invalid number of days. Those things we can do, but we are not supposed to do in this particular question. Okay, so if it lies in this range, days greater than 0 and smaller than equals to 5, then the rate would be 500 rupees per day. Simply. The next slab was if the number of days is next 5 days, right? In the question, it said that first 5 days is this much, the say next 5 days is this much. Next 5 days means you have already the first five, and your number of days whatever you have given as input is lying above that number 5 days, right? Suppose the input was 7, that means we have already 5, now plus 2. 2 is falling in the second range, second slab. That's what is called a slab. This is the first slab, this is the second slab, and this is the third slab. So if the input number of days is 7, we are falling in the second slab, right? if the number of days is greater than 5 and then gets smaller than equals to 10. Since the question said next 5, that means previous 5 plus 5 is 10. So that's why our upper bound is 10. If you haven't seen the last video where I have explained the code and the approach, you can see that, and that would be helpful for you. Okay, so the next slab was next 5. So 5 plus 5 is 10. So the upper bound became 10. So if number of days falls between 5 and 10, then the charge would be for the first 5 days the slab is same 500 rupees per day plus the remaining amount of days that is falling in this slab between 5 to 10, that we will get by subtracting 5 from the number of days, right? If our number of days input is 7, then 7 minus 5, that is 2, that is falling in this range, right? So for that, the question specifies that for the next 5 days the rate is 400 rupees per day. So that's why I have multiplied 400 here. So days minus 5 into 400. Please note that this is the lower bound of the slab, and this upper bound is the lower bound is the upper bound of the previous one plus the lower bound of the current one. Okay, these things might change, this 0, 5, 10, this can change as per the question, but try to follow the harmony why I am writing 10 or why I am writing 5. Okay, so these things you need to be very careful, the upper bound and the lower bound of the slabs, and accordingly you have to design the conditions and the statement for calculation. So here was our second slab if the number of days lies between 5 to 10. Now next, this question specified that rest of the days. Rest means above that. If does not lie between 0 to 5, if it does not lie in the second slab means 5 to 10. If it is above 10, suppose the input number of days is 15, that will not be satisfied in this if condition, right? It would not get executed. 15 will not also execute here because 15 is not greater than 5 and smaller than equals to 10. This condition would get false. We have used an and operator, so both the conditions should be true. Since the second condition is false, so this else if would not execute, right? Now the option lies here, else. If days is greater than 10, then we would execute this else. So this else is the third slab. The last slab will always fall in the else part. Okay. So for that, for the first 5 days 500, for the next 5 days 400, and the above that means days minus 10 because last upper bound was 10. Now above this one more than 10, how we would find that? We would simply subtract that upper bound from the number of days input, right? So days minus 10 would give us the excess above or the rest part, rest number of days. That is to be multiplied with the 200 because in the question it is specified that rest number of days, the rate is 200. So that is how we calculate the slabs. So here we are with our 3 slabs, and this method is calculating only the charge. It is not printing that. The task of displaying the details is under the display method. In the display method, we are supposed to print it in tabular manner. So I have printed the header here, the bike number, then the phone number, then the name, then the number of days, then the charge, and below that respective details. Bike number is printed below that. Phone number is printed below that. Name is printed below that. Days is printed below that. Charge is printed below that. So these are the instance variables which we are calculating with the help of the previous methods, taking input from this method and computing the charge from this method, and then at the last we would execute the void display method. Okay, now according to the question, the main method was not to be written, but I wrote it here because I would execute that and show you the output. So in order to do that, I have to write the main method where I have to create the instance or the object of the class, whatever class I am writing, the mobile class. So here I have created an instance, an object of the mobile class. The class is a user defined data type. As you know that class is also called an object factory, right? So we are creating an object from that class with the help of this line, and this is the constructor. So when we are done with the creation of the object, now we can call the methods. So that's why we are running m.input. If we are running m.input, then the input method would be invoked. Okay, this input method is getting invoked, and the input part, whatever printing the prompt and taking the input, those lines of code would be executed. Then we are running the m dot compute. M dot compute would run the compute method where we are calculating the charge as per the different slabs that we just discussed some moments ago. Then the m dot display method is responsible for printing the details. So sequentially we have to do first take the input, compute the charge, then display the details. Okay. Now let's run the code and watch our output how it looks like. So here we're running the code and here we are with the prompt. So first the input method has executed, right? In the input method you can see this prompt was there. So that prompt got printed now. So we're in the first method. Now we have to take the input the bike number. Then I am giving the input a phone number. Then I am giving the input of the name and the number of days I am fine. Suppose I am giving 8. So 8 will lie in which slab? 8 will lie in this slab, right? Between 5 to 10. So let's see what is the output and then I would explain the charge value. So bike number, phone number, Raj and the number of days got printed and so the charge. So this orientation got a little bit distorted because the length of the strings are not same. So what we can do, we can simply adjust the number of spaces with the help of backslash t or the space that you want to give between the fields. That you can fine tune and change, but this would not cut any marks in the ICSE examination. Okay, while execution if you see something you can adjust that. Okay, but in the answer script if you write that you would not deduct any marks. Okay, so 3700, let us justify whether 3700 is correct or not. So our input number of days was 8, sorry, it was 8. So it would lie in not in 0 to 5, it would lie here 5 to 10. So first 5 days 500 into 5 means 2500 plus 8 minus 5 means 3. 3 fours are 12. So 1200. This would give us 1200, right? 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 into 400 is 1200. 1200 plus 2500. 2500 plus 1200 gives us 3700. So that is correct. So our charge value got the correct one. So we are done with the output. You can check for other scenarios also, but this is the overall working of the program. If you face any difficulty or any queries, you can mention that in the comment section. I am happy to answer that and help you for your examination. And the examinations are coming very soon. I'm recording this video in 13/12/2023, just 1.5 months or less than that maybe is left. So prepare well for your examination, and if you found that video sometime later also, please prepare that well for your examination and stay tuned, subscribe my channel, and let's meet in the next video.